Last time on Yu-Gi-Oh! I taught you the basics of what 3D printing is, what it can and can't do, and some variables that you have to work with. This time, I'll show you how to get started with the printers and my workflow when I print stuff over there. Hi, I'm Joseph Bulldog, and if you watched the last episode, you already know who I am. If you didn't, you should go watch that right now. Before you can start churning out models you found on the internet, you must remember this quote. By failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. The only thing I really mean by it is that you just can't go over to a 3D printing room and expect to print stuff out all the time without preparing beforehand. I think that guy from like Payday 2 said that or something. That's not important. Anyway, when you walk into the 3D printing room, the changes are that the filament rolls will be loaded and ready for you to print, but you will have to change the rolls at some point. To load the filament, lock a roll into place on one of the sides of the printer by twisting the side of this until the filament comes out. Load the start of it into the PTFE tube, which is the white plastic tube leading to the extruder. Go to this touchscreen and select Tools, Filament, and load left or right depending on which extruder you want to load. You have to wait for it to heat up, and once it gets heated up, it'll beep. At this point, feed the end of the filament into the hole at the top of the extruder. You may have to snip the end of the filament to get it to load properly. While we're here, it's the same process to unload the filament. Select Unload and wait for it to heat up. Press the lever on the side and pull up the filament when it's done heating. Another thing to keep in mind is this preheat button here in the middle, but I'll talk about it more later. Something else you have to do every week or so is to level the print bed. Do this by going to Tools and Level on the touchscreen and turning the knobs under the print bed so that when a piece of paper is between the nozzle and the bed, it lightly scrapes it when you pull on it. At this point, you're ready to find a model to print. Personally, I use Thingiverse.com, but I have heard good things about Thangs.com. If you have experience with 3D modeling, you can print your own designs provided that they're in either the STL or OBJ format. Once you have the 3D model of what you want to print, open your slicing software. On the Mac in the 3D printing room, it's called Flash Print. To start, load your model into the slicer by dragging it in. From the tools on the side, make sure that the size of the object is okay. Printing objects too large uses a lot of filament and time, and printing them too small makes it hard to add detail. If your model has any large arches or overhangs or parts that are floating in thin air, it won't be able to print properly because the way that 3D printing works is that it layers plastic upon previous layers. You'll have to use the support tool to make it work. Click Supports and Auto Supports. This is usually enough, but you can add more manually by clicking on the model. Now you're ready to slice the model and print it out. Click Print on the top of the screen to bring up the menu with the settings. This is where it gets a little bit confusing, depending on if you want to have a quick test print or something more final. Pick the quality for it to print in. What this changes is the layer height. Some other variables that you have the option of tweaking are the extruder temperature, the bed temperature, and the option to print a brim. For ABS filament, which is the one we mainly have at school, you should usually print using a 220 to 230 degree end tip and a 110 degrees Celsius bed, and also a brim. You don't really have to worry about what to set the temperatures to because they're listed on the sides of the filament. By the way, the brim is just an extra layer of plastic that the printer adds around the base so that it sticks to the print bed and doesn't warp. After you fiddle with these settings, click OK to turn your model into a .gx file. You can either use the link cables in the back of the room or the SD cards that are stored in the printers to start printing. Remember preheating from earlier? If you had that running earlier, you can save some time now. At this point, you should probably stick around for at least the first few layers to print out, just in case something bad happens. Usually the first layers are the one to fail, if they do, and it's better to stop a print early on and just redo it than it is to come back and have a complete mess of plastic. Now that your model's finished printing, you're almost done. All you have to do is take it off the build plate cleanly, and then you can go home. An easy way to do this is to use the scraper tools or X-Acto knives that are stored in the boxes in the back of the room, on the shelves. All you have to do is wedge it underneath the model and in between the bed, and pry it up. But be careful doing this, because you can cut yourself, and I have done so in the past. Twice. We interrupt this regularly scheduled broadcast with something. Oh boy, I hope that thing I 3D printed worked and came out alright. Wait. No! No! Oh man, I just had this horrible dream that something I 3D printed just failed catastrophically. Wait, no, it wasn't just a dream? No. Well, at least the part that macOS got installed on my computer was still a dream, right? No. Yeah, that's right. Even if you think you know what you're doing, things can still go wrong. Sometimes the first layer could just fail to stick to the bed, the model could fall over because the base layer got warped or was too small, or even something completely unexpected like the filament getting tangled. Let me tell you now that the solution is probably to re-level your bed. Except for the filament getting tangled, that's just really unlucky and you're gonna have to untangle that on your own, sorry kiddo. This series of videos was just a quick introduction to 3D printing and far from a comprehensive guide for the hobby. But now, the only thing that limits you is your imagination, and by the models that you can find on the internet or make yourself, and any issues that you encounter that you haven't fixed yet. Either way, you can learn a lot more about 3D printing by watching other YouTubers who make 3D printing content, or just looking at projects that seem cool to you. Well, now you know how to print stuff over in the 3D printing room. Thanks for watching, and congratulations!